today is Wednesday the 4th of April, and I know this is going to sound strange, but I'm 1 week away before the big day, and I cannot believe we're almost there. I am so excited and so nervous. I mean, just talking and thinking about it now, I'm just completely amazed how time has flown. And when I met with my support worker today, she said to me, we've planned it for months and now it's all come down to this. It feels like it's so quick. And I just thought, yeah, that does sound like it. So I'm going to give you a little update on what's happening. Normally I haven't done this, but today for the very first time I went on the bus to meet my mentor in my local town centre, and I went with my mum, and what we did on the bus was kind of like two different opposite sides. So on the journey into the town, she sat next to me, and I just had to imagine that she wasn't really there because, as some of you may know, well, I've told you in my previous entries, I don't really like people sitting next to me because I know I get a bit tense and it just makes me feel kind of anxious. But again, I'm not trying to be mean here. This is me just being very honest about myself. But I think with my mum, I was pretty okay this time round, and I know she was feeling a little bit nervous. I could sense that she wasn't as nervous as I thought she was, but it just might be a case of mistaken identity, but I'll just never know really, to be honest. And on the way down, I noticed that she's done a lot of things. Well, mostly she's held on to the rails, whether it's attached to the bus where the stop sign is, and she also put her hands on another rail which is behind her chair. And out of curiosity, I asked her why, and she said, I don't feel very stable. My mum is not on the spectrum, but sometimes she feels a little bit anxious when buses go down hills or just makes different turns around the corners, whether the bus is changing direction on a roundabout or just making a few little turns on crossings and side roads and all that jazz. And it's made me wonder that if people on the spectrum are like that. So that was a thing that I had to keep in mind. And also a little bit of an update. My parents have decided to do a little bit more research onto autism and public transport. Ever since I have filmed the Diverted video, my mum and dad have been looking into some more information on the NAS website, just to have a look on facts and figures and thoughts and opinions about public transport and how autistic passengers cope with these situations. And just out of nowhere, they actually mentioned to me about earphones. And last time I mentioned that my parents weren't too keen for me to have any earphones at all. But yesterday they said to me, if you do feel worried, you can have one earphone in. Well, which kind of makes sense really, to be honest, because not only you can actually feel calm whilst you're listening to some music, but you can also actually listen out at the same time. This may be a bit awkward for me because I have difficulty with multitasking. Not all the time, but sometimes. And I'm not too sure if I ever came across experiences of me feeling very anxious on the bus, but I'm just going to have to see how we go really. And at the end of the day, I'm using some practice to travel train without any earplugs or earphones, because most of the buses can be very quiet, but you just never know really. Well, apart from rush hour, but apart from that, you just never ever know. I've also done an update on my spreadsheet because last time I've written just the top bits there. I won't go through too much detail about the grid because I know I have taken up loads of time whilst filming. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to explain a little bit what I've done. So on the second grid, I've actually written what do I need to do before I go to the bus stop, so when I'm leaving home. And then the next thing I've written is what do I do if I feel worried. So that could be anything from diversions to delays to cancellations and so on and so forth. And then what I wrote next And this is something that my supporter has mentioned to me. She said just to write down notes of what you should do before you go out and travel on public transport. So she said make sure you charge your phone on full battery as well as your smartwatch, because if you have known me before, then you'll know that I have a smartwatch for my epilepsy, and I have to charge both my phone and watch at the same time because there is an app that's connected to each other just in case if I have a seizure. And then the last thing that I wrote is what should I do if I feel anxious? So this is what I written of what I can do if I'm feeling anxious. So I can ring close contacts such as my carers, my parents, my supporters, etc. And then, oh, what was it? Have something to chew on. And this is for some people who tend to chew a lot, and normally I'm not a chewer, but I have noticed I have been feeling the need to chew as my anxiety's got a little bit worse than it did before, and that is not like me at all. So I'm trying to find some stuff at the moment on the internet just for something to help me calm down. So it's kind of like buying a product from Chewy Gem. I don't know if I'm actually going to buy a product from Chewy Gem yet, but I'm actually thinking about it. And then the next thing I've written, and I have explained this before, is putting one earphone in. And then my final note that I've put down is EFT, which stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. But EFT is kind of like special tapping. You can actually do special tapping anywhere. So you could do it on your hands like I'm demonstrating now. You can do it around your face, your neck, and sometimes on your chest, which I'm going to demonstrate as well. And what I tend to do is kind of like a Tarzan yell. And sometimes if you really want to get the anxiety out, you can actually make noise very quietly, like so. Just like that, but I try to do it very quiet as much as I can so I won't distract any attention. But I think this really helps. As a performer, I use this technique a lot before I go on stage because I get terrible stage fright. But what I've learned is that EFT can be used not just on the stage or backstage, but for anywhere. So that's all I've got to say at the moment. I'm not going to do any more entries for the past few days because I may want to do some updates, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be travelling on the bus again from today until next week. But if I do, I will let you know and we'll just see how I go. So until then guys, I hope you have a wonderful day and I will see you whenever I can. Hi guys, today is Saturday. Oh no, actually telling a lie, it's Sunday the 7th, I think. I'm pretty sure it was the 7th. No, actually, telling a lie, it was the 8th. Sunday the 8th of April. And as you can tell, I'm not using my camera, but instead I'm using my phone. Now, I'm going to be doing a little screen test because when I am going to be travelling on the day, I'm not going to bring my camera with me, but instead I'm going to be recording it all on my phone. And the reason why I'm recording this on my phone is because that I don't want to lose my camera, and also there may be people watching me with the camera and they just probably think I'm a little bit weird. So yeah, I think that's all I got to say on the moment. I haven't got any more interesting updates for you at the moment, but I'm going to try and do some more independent bus travelling the day before. So I'm doing it on Tuesday, and I'm going to go a different route than I would do before because I'm meeting up with a friend for lunch that day, and I know I may have to travel to one different place. So yeah, we're just going to have to see how I go, to be honest. Not much of an interesting update, but hey ho, never mind. And yeah, I apologise for my appearance. I'm getting like really ridiculous with spots at the moment, but I know that's not important really. Anyway guys, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And I don't know if it's the weekend by the time you're watching this, but if not, I hope you had a lovely weekend. And yeah, bring on a few more updates, I think. I am going to try to film probably on Tuesday, but I cannot guarantee it. So we're just going to have to keep our fingers crossed and see what happens. But if I don't, I will catch you on Wednesday. Until then, Bye-bye. Hi guys, today is Tuesday the 10th of April, so one more day to go until the big day. I just wanted to give you a bit of an update because the last time I recorded the video, I said that I was going to do some more travel training because I was seeing a friend just right near where I live, and today has been a very successful day. What happened today was that my dad actually came along with me to make sure I was alright. Normally it would be my mum or my supporter just to be there to help me, but because my dad has never ever seen me do this before, he actually said that he would step in and actually help me with my travel training in case anything should happen. And I can honestly say that he was very pleased about it. But whilst we were doing the travel training, I've noticed a few different things, and some of them that I have actually seen before, but I've never mentioned it in my travel diary vlog. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to explain just a tiny bit of what that is, if it makes any sense. I know I'm not talking very much today, but I'm just a little bit tired and a little bit full from the lunch. So what happened was that me and my dad made our way to the bus stop and everything was dandy, and before I went to the bus stop I had to walk on the pedestrian crossing, and this was because that I had to walk on the other side of the road. So normally I wouldn't get a bus to go into a different town. Normally I would go on the bus which is the town where I live, but because we were doing something different and because my friend doesn't live in the town where I live, I had to go on the other side just to meet him up from there. And it was pretty interesting because there were a bit of technical difficulties, but miscalculations as well. Whilst I was waiting for the bus, I did notice that a lot of things weren't pretty good, really, to be honest, but I remained calm and I remained absolutely fine, and the main focus of this was being diverted or delayed. I don't know if it was one or the other, but in my case it might be a little bit of both, but I'm not an expert really, to be honest, so I really don't know. I was waiting for the bus and I arrived at the bus stop for about, let's just say 15-20 minutes, and when I looked at the timing, so on the bus stop there is a little board which tells you the bus numbers, the times and where their final destinations are. But there was one, well, not just one, there were two big problems with this. And the two big problems were not very helpful. And although I was alright because I didn't panic or anything like that, this could be a huge problem for people on the autistic spectrum, especially adults, because I know with delays and all of that, that they can feel pretty stressed out about it. So what happened was that my bus came about 10 to 15 minutes late, but luckily I managed to meet my friend 5 minutes before I was to meet him. But the main problems that I found with the buses is that of the boards itself and the app. And I know some people actually use the app before they go out of their houses to the bus stop just to make sure when the next bus arrives. And one of the first things I've noticed is the technical difficulties on the app, and it was so confusing. What I found on the app, and I'll leave some screenshots somewhere around the video because I have taken these as evidence, and I thought this would be very useful because there were some little bits of information that didn't really make any sense to me and I really couldn't understand. So what happened was, when I checked last night and this morning, the nearest bus that I could get to meet my friend for 1 o'clock was the 12:30 stop. But when I got to the bus stop itself and I looked on the board, it said 12:38, and that was 8 minutes after what the actual time was on the app. And I thought, Okay, that doesn't look right. So I had to check on another part of the board, which is in the middle of the bus stop, and it just tells you all the stops and the dates and times, not on the board, but just in a little picture frame. So it tells you the numbers of the buses and the stations that you would normally go to from your own bus stop. So what I mean by that is that when you actually go onto the bus, or before you go onto the bus, you'll tend to see a lot of different bus routes. So when you start at the bus route that you actually get onto the bus to, it shows you all the different maps to show you where to go. So for example, I probably won't say where I live really, because I'm a little bit cautious of that, but say if it was a London bus, and if you are going onto a bus stop from, let's see, Baker Street all the way up to Kensington Gardens. I haven't been on the London buses, so I probably won't give the correct information, but these are just a few examples. If you want to get from Baker Street to Kensington Gardens, the maps will show you which different stops you have to go to, how many stops there are before you reach your destination. Again, it's quite useful, but what I found is that it showed the same time as the time I saw on the board rather than the app. So compared to the app, it said 12:30, but on the picture frame on the bus stop and the map, it was 12:38, and I thought, hang on a minute. But I presume there might be some technical difficulties, but I really don't know. When it got to 12:38 and a little bit after, I thought, oh, that doesn't look good. And my dad was asking me, do they know that your bus has been diverted or delayed? And the silly thing was that on the board, so not on the board of the bus stop, but from the other board, which tells you your bus number and the bus's destination, it just completely disappeared. And it doesn't give you an explanation of how many minutes it's going to be late for or whether it's cancelled or not. It just completely disappeared. And that's not really good enough, to be honest, because if there are some autistic passengers who are a little bit worried about the buses and wonder why they are late and everything like that, and they don't have the app, this can be so frustrating, and that could lead just to some paranoia, a bit of frightenness, meltdowns, anything like that. And even though I have the app and I was fortunate to get it, I know not everybody has it. I don't know if anybody who has mentioned this before and they are on the autistic spectrum, but in my point of view, something has to be done about it, I think. I know sometimes it can't really be helped, but if they can make it a little bit autistic friendly, then it will be a very great help to people who travel to the bus forth and back now and again. So that was my only downsides to it. When I got on the bus though, I felt really calm. I had to look out the window because I wasn't really too sure, and sometimes I would feel uncomfortable on the bus, but luckily my dad was sitting next to me and I was completely fine. But when I was in the unsure mode, I tend to look at the different posters, just like I did in my reaction video, but rather than looking at the bus stops, I tend to look at the adverts, because on the bus I was on, there weren't any stops at all, but instead there were different notice boards and just a few announcements now and again, so I had a look at that. Luckily the bus was very quiet today because it's not rush hour and it's the Easter holidays, so yeah, it was pretty nice and peaceful really, to be honest. I did notice that there were two people behind me who were really loud and they were very, very chatty, but it didn't bother me a lot, but at times I just felt really irritated. But I masked it really, to be honest, because I know that I can't do anything about it. But my stop was the next stop after the one I got on, so that was completely fine. I wasn't too bothered about that. And that's all the news I've got to say. I don't know about you, but I'm so scared and so nervous for tomorrow. Words cannot describe how really quick it has come. I know that me and my supporter have been planning for months and months, and I've had travel training for months and months. It's just gone so quickly, and I cannot believe it's tomorrow. I don't know if you can actually see by the camera, but I really do apologise, because talking about it now is making my hand shake, but I know I can do this, and I know nothing's gonna hold me back. I've been waiting for this for my whole life, and I think it's about time that I should really go for it and face my fears. And the reason why I wanted to record this vlog diary was not because of me looking back on the things I've done, which I mentioned before in the first entry, but also I really want to show the world how probably difficult or tricky or sometimes probably easy it could be for someone on the autistic spectrum who is not an independent traveller but who's going through the process of travelling independently, if that makes sense. So yeah, I really hope that this has given you a little bit of a heads up. I am going to be filming my whole entire bus journey tomorrow, but I'm actually going to be recording the whole day in a separate video because I've probably made my daily vlog a bit too long. So until then guys, I'll see you tomorrow. Let's bring on the full day.